right. Shalom, Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai B'Kathah to the brothers. Salaki, Shalom, Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai B'Katham to the brothers. Shalom, Yahweh Shema Alathan Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai to the sisters. We are the Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge. Started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. We're not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization, alright? So today is the Isupk history class, man. If you are in the state of Virginia, tune in to the Isupk history class of Virginia, man. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot about the history of the blacks, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, alright, and the history, alright? You're going to learn historical evidence that proves that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are God's chosen people, including biblical proof too, alright? It's very important for us to understand that too, alright? The Lord says prove all things, alright? The Lord says prove all things, so we have to prove the fact that we're Israel. Alright, we have to prove the fact that we are Israel, that we are the Israelites that the Bible talks about. Not just biblically, but historically too. Alright, we have to take that into consideration, alright? If you have any questions online or in class, make sure you ask them, alright? Put them into the live chat or raise your hand, and we'll be able to get to your questions, alright? Alright. Alright. So if you have any questions, make sure you ask, alright? So what we're going to do is we're going to start with 2 Kings, alright? We're going to start with 2 Kings chapter 17, right? We're going to leave off where we left off. So remember in last class, alright? Can anybody remember Monday night's class and what we spoke about? Anybody answer online if you can recollect, or you can think about what did we talk about last class? What did we speak about in last class? Does anybody remember? Does anybody remember what we spoke about in last class? Anybody tell me? Anyone? Does anybody remember what we spoke about last class? I'll give y'all some time to answer. What did we say? What did we speak about last class? What did we speak about? What did we talk about on Monday night's class? Let me specify. On Monday night's class, what did we speak about? But this is somewhat a continuation. Right? This is somewhat of a continuation of Monday night's class. Does anybody remember? If not, that's all right. So, in last week's class, we spoke about what we talked about, and what we spoke about was Samaria, right? We talked about the land of Samaria and Slaki, we spoke about Samaria. How, right, what is a good Samaritan? Okay, that is what we spoke about. Most High in Christ. So what we spoke about overall is Samaria. And we also focused on the point on how the land of Samaria no longer has the Israelites in it. At one point in time, the Israelites lived in Samaria. We had the land of Samaria at one point in time. But because of our captivity, because of the Assyrian captivity, and because we were taken out of the land of Samaria, we were no longer in that land. So that land no longer belonged to us, but the Assyrians pushed Ethiopians in there, and South Africans, it's like not South Africans, but East Africans into that land like Ethiopians. We no longer have that land, and that land is controlled by heathens during this time of history, during that time. So what we're going to do is expound, right? We're going to expound on what happened after the Assyrian captivity to the Israelites that were taken. So we're going to go back to 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 7. So we're going to go to 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 7. Shalom, Yabashim Yashai Bakatha Cat. Shalom. We're going to go to 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 7, all right? Now this is a very important topic to understand and learn about. Okay? Like we're going to have to understand the history of the Northern Kingdom, after the Assyrian captivity, links between Native Indian culture and the Bible. All right? Links between Native Indian culture and the Bible. Like we're going to touch on that. All right? We're going to touch bases on that, man. It's very important to understand that the Native Americans, the so-called Hispanics and the Native Indians, those Latinos and those Latinas, right? We are God's chosen people too. We are the children of Israel. We consisted of the Northern Kingdom, all right? We consisted of the Northern Kingdom. Now remember, if you're new coming into the school, remember, put your name, city, and state. Do not forget for attendance, all right? Make sure you put your name, city, and state. Do not forget to check in. So if you are in class, all right? I see we got 7 views right now on Facebook, 3 views on YouTube. If you are on Facebook and you are on YouTube, do not forget to check in and put your name and city and state so you can be accounted for and get credit towards class, all right? Do not forget, all right? You do not want to forget that. But now, it's very important for us to look into the history, right, and biblical record about the Latinos, about the Hispanics, about the Native Indians, man. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to dig real deep and learn about it, all right? The history of the Northern Kingdom after Assyrian captivity. All right, we're going to touch bases on it. All right, we're going to touch a lot of bases on it. This may just be even a 2-day class, as in there's going to be a lot of information on the next Wednesday too to continue. All right. We're definitely going to get into that, man. All right. We're definitely going to get into that. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. All right. All right. If you have any questions online, make sure you put it into the live chat. All right. All right. Where is that precept at? All right. So remember, we're going to get 2 Kings chapter 17. We're going to start at 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 7. All right. 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 7. All right. All right. 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 7. We'll go ahead and get it. Second Kings chapter 17, verse 7. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Most High their power. So during this time, right, this is referring to the children of Israel, all right? If you want to backtrack, all right, this was during the time of King Ahaz, all right? This was in the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, all right? Began Hosea the son of to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. So this was during the time of Hosea, all right? All right. So King Hosea, right? King Hosea was king over Samaria, right? Which was where the northern kingdom was at. That's where the nation. That's where the children of the kingdom of Israel was at, right? Or I should say, the house of Israel. So you had the house of Judah, and you had the house of Israel. All right. So let's see. I can get that. So let's do a little backtrack. Let's see. I'm trying to see. I believe it's in 1 Kings. All right. There was a split. So the kingdom was split into two. And you had the northern kingdom, and then you had the southern kingdom. I want to say it's in 1 Kings, right? I believe 1 Kings. Let's see, 1 Kings chapter 12. Let me see. believe it's first. Let me see. It's in 1 Kings chapter 12. All right, we're gonna backtrack a little and give you a little backdrop. So 1 Kings chapter 12. I want to say it's let's see. Yep. So we're going to read 1 Kings chapter 12. So 1 Kings chapter 12. We're going to start at verse 1. So and Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel would come to Shechem to make him king. Verse 2. And it came to pass, with Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, for he was fled from the presence of King Solomon, and Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt. Verse 3, that they sent and called him, and Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, verse 4, thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father and his heavy yoke, which he put upon us, lighter, and we will serve thee. So this is during time of King Rehoboam. This is the son of King Solomon. So the son of King Solomon was next in line to be the king of Israel. During the king of Rehoboam, this was during the time of the split. All right, we're about to get into how the nation of Israel was split into two kingdoms. You can also find this and also in detail as well in you can find it in 2 Chronicles chapter 10. Right? So let's continue reading. Verse 5, and he said unto them, depart ye for 3 days, then come again to me, and the people departed. So they asked him just to depart for 3 days, give time, and then come back. Alright, verse 6, and King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father, while he yet lived, and said, how do ye advise that I may answer this people? Right? So he's asking. So King Rehoboam consulted with the old men. He's going to the elders asking, like, man, how am I supposed to deal with this situation? What am I supposed to say? What am I going to do? Because there's a problem amongst Israel. Verse 7, and spake unto him, saying, if thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and will serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, that they will be thy servants forever. So what it was is, so he said, hey, if you just treat these people right and talk to these people the right way, then they'll serve you the way you're supposed to be served as king. That was the counsel. Right? Verse 8, but he forsook the counsel of the old men. So right here, King Rehoboam, he forsook the counsel of the old men. He didn't take the counsel. He didn't adhere to the counsel. The worst thing you can ever do, right? This is a great prime example. The worst thing you can ever do in the truth is not adhere to counsel. Right? Speaking to the old men is referring to the judges, referring to the generals and the captains in the school that are counselors, right? That are judges. It's very important for us to listen and adhere to counsel. It would be in your best interest to. Because if you don't, bad things can happen. And bad things actually may happen. It's going to turn out in a way that you do not want it to turn out in. So it's best for us to listen to and adhere to counsel. Alright? Which they had given him, and consulted with the young men that were grown up with him. Right? And stood afar. Not stood afar, which stood before him. Salaki, verse 9. And he said unto them, what counsel give ye that we may answer this people who have spoken to me, saying, make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter? Right? So he, instead of going to actual judges, instead of listening to the judges and the elders of Israel, he listened to people that he grew up with. He listened to his buddies from the world. He listened to his buddies that he was, that he thought that he was close to, that thought that had some wisdom. Like, the problem is, you got what we lack in Israel, what we don't understand in Israel. We have the wrong people in our ears. All right? We have the wrong people in our ears, right? And said unto them, verse 9, and said unto them, it's like in verse 10, and the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, thus shalt thou speak unto the people that spake unto thee, saying, thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it lighter unto us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, my little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. Verse 11, and now whereas my father did lade you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father has chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So, the counsel that he took, right? The counsel that he took from his friends was saying, I'm going to make y'all suffering even harder. I'm going to make it worse than my father. That was terrible advice. That was terrible counsel. All right. Verse 12. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king had appointed, saying, come to me again the third day. Verse 13. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him. So right here, right, I'm gonna skip down. I'm gonna skip down to verse 19. So right now we're in the process of he didn't listen to the counsel, and because he didn't listen to counsel, this was the result. Verse 19. So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. Verse 20. And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only. And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah, and the tribe of Benjamin, and 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against the house of Israel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. So now, this is right here, this is the split. This was the split in the kingdom, because he didn't listen to the counsel given by the elders, by the elder of Israel, by the older men. Now there was about to be a war and a breakage within Israel. Verse 22, but the word of God came unto Shemaiah, saying, the man of God, saying, speak unto Rehoboam the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and unto all the house of Judah and Benjamin, and to the remnant of the people, saying, verse 24, thus saith the Lord, ye shall not go up, nor fight against your brethren, the children of Israel. Return every man to his house, and for this thing is for me. They hearken therefore to the word of the Lord, and return to depart according to the word of the Most High. So pretty much what the Most High is saying is, hey, this is what was supposed to happen. The kingdom was supposed to split like this. This was the punishment, right? This was the consequence of the things that King Solomon did, right? So don't even sweat it. Don't go up against your brother, for this is what the scripture says. For this is what the word of the Lord says. All right? So right there you go. That was the backdrop of the kingdom splitting in two, right? So now I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna go to 2 Kings chapter 17, and we left off at, let's see, verse I'm gonna say we were at 7. All right. Verse 8. So 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 8. And walked in the statues of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and made and of the kings of Israel, which they had made. So now, this is during the time, right? So, if I may, the nation of Israel, not nation of Israel, the house of Israel, which is the northern kingdom, which are the other tribes, right? So in the last chapter, right, that we read, which was in 1 Kings chapter 12, it talked about how the southern kingdom, which was led by Jeroboam, right? Rehoboam, if I'm not mistaken, Salakia, it consisted of Judah and Benjamin. But the southern kingdom, the northern kingdom, which was the rest of the tribes, right? Like that's your Asher, your Simeon, your Gad, your Naphtali, your Joseph, your not Joseph, Salakia, your Ephraim, your Manasseh. You know what I'm saying? Like these are your other tribes, Naphtali, Issachar. Like these are the other tribes of Israel. That's your northern kingdom. All right, and that's known as the house of Israel. That's why if you read the Bible and you're going through the scriptures, when it talks about the house of Israel and the house of Judah, right? It's separating the two for a reason, because within our nation we were split into two, and there were two kings ruling over us. All right, you had one king ruling over the southern kingdom, then you had another king ruling over the northern kingdom. So you had the northern tribes, and then you had the southern tribes. The southern tribes was Judah and Benjamin, while the northern tribes was Gad, Simeon, Reuben, Naphtali, Manasseh, Asher, Ephraim, Issachar, right? Like these were the other tribes. All right, these were the other tribes. Let's continue reading. Verse 9. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Most High their power. So the children of Israel, referring to the Israelites, we disobeyed the Lord. We weren't keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. We decided to, smoke weed, get high, eat pork, shrimp, and lobster, like we did what the heathen did. We started to adopt the culture of other nations of people, of other races of people, and because of so, and because of so, the Lord punished us for it, right? All right, the Lord punished us for it. So for time's sake, I'm gonna skip down. I'm going to skip down to verse 23. All right. All right. So here we go. There we go. We're going to start at verse 22. Salaki. So it says, for the children of Israel, this is 2 Kings, chapter 17, verse 22. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them. So we did all the sins, right? Like, okay, we were sinning against the Lord, and we did not depart against the sins of our king Jeroboam, which was over the house of Israel, right? Right. So the house of Israel, which is your Simeon, your Gad, your Manasseh, your Ephraim, your Asher, your Naphtali, your Issachar, right? We did not, our Zebulun, these are the other tribes, right? We decided to continue to sin against the Lord. We continue to follow the customs and the culture and the traditions of other races of people, which was to serve idols, idol worship. We may not understand, but idol worship is a very serious thing, right? The Lord says, thou shalt not serve any other God before me. Serving idols is serving other gods. And even to this day, in America, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we don't understand that we're serving idols as we speak right now. We don't realize it because we don't know. The certain things that we wear is the worship of another god. The certain things that we do is a worship of another god. Like smoking weed is a worship of another god, which is the goddess or god of Shiva, which is a transgender god. It's literally a gateway to homosexuality. It's a gateway to the LGBTQIA plus community. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't realize that. Being a homosexual or being a lesbian or being a supporter or an ally of the LGBT community is the serving of another god. But we don't realize that. When it comes to smoking cigarettes and blacks, these are worships of another god. Going to the Christian church, that's the worship of another god. Becoming a Muslim and following under Islam or the Nation of Islam or being a 5%er, that's the worship of another god. Some of these holidays that we celebrate, right? Some of these holidays that we celebrate in America, like Christmas, that's the worship of another god. New Year's, that's the worship of another god. Valentine's Day, that's the worship of other gods. Easter, that's the worship of another god. You got, I might be missing some, Halloween, the worship of another gods, right? Thanksgiving, the worship of another god, and worshiping and also celebrating the great massacre and the murder of the Northern Kingdom, which are the Native Indians, which are the so-called Native Indians and Native Americans. Those, you know, the Latinos and Latinas, the Hispanics. Like, this is who, like, we don't realize what we're celebrating. We don't realize what we do, right? That's why it's important for us to have a conscience and think a little more about the things that we do, right? Now we gotta think about think about certain things. We gotta think about the certain things that we do and have a conscience about the things that we do as a people, as a whole. Right now we've been living our lives on the way that we were taught by our oppressor, right? We've been living the life in the way we live according to our slave masters, right? Our oppressor, which is the so-called white man, which is the devil that the Bible speaks of. We've been basing our life based off of his living conditions. Well, not his living conditions, but based off his traditions, based off his culture, based off his heritage, on what he does. And we don't realize that that's a problem. And those things don't work for us. We have to think about that. We have to take that into consideration. We have to consider that. And when we don't consider that, we suffer because of it. And because of so, this is what the Lord did to us in verse 23. This is what the Lord did to us in 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 24. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon. It's like verse 23. 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 23. Until the Most High removed Israel out of his sight. So the Most High removed Israel, meaning he moved Israel out of his sight, as he has said by all his servants, the prophets. So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. So the house of Israel, which is the northern kingdom, right, was taken into captivity and was carried away out of their own land to Assyria. So we were taken to Assyria, right? We were taken to the land of Assyria because we sinned against the Lord. We went into captivity because we decided to worship idols. We decided to follow So how can I say it? We were brought out. So because we were serving idols and we started to adopt the culture and the customs and the heritage of another race of people and other races and other nations of people, we were carried away into captivity. We were taken away out of our own land, which was Samaria at the time, right, where the house of Israel dwelt, where the northern kingdom dwelt, and then we were taken into another land that we didn't know, which was the land of Assyria, right? Like, we need to learn. We need to take this into as a learning point. All right. All right. So we got to take that into consideration. So now we're going to get into the history. So anybody online paying attention, right? That was just the backdrop. Now we're going to get into the history of, we're going to get into the history of how we ended up in America. All right, we're going to get into the history of how we ended up in America. Can anybody, if anyone online, can anybody tell me, how did the native Indians, how did the northern kingdom, right, the other tribes of Israel, get to America? Does anybody know? Does anybody want to take a guess at it? Does anybody know? Anybody online? Does anybody know? Does anybody know online? How did? Okay. If anybody wants to take a shot at it, of course we're going to learn about it today. But I want to know if anybody knows. Right? All right, they fled from their oppressor by boats. Okay, does anybody know how we ended up in America? Anybody else? How did the northern kingdom end up in America? How do we know for sure that the northern kingdom ended up in America? Does anybody know? All right, and y'all can answer, but I'm gonna continue reading for time's sake. All right, or I'm gonna continue teaching as well. Give me anybody online before Columbus. Yeah, we talking about before Columbus. Right, before Columbus. How did we end up in America? If you guys don't know, you can say I don't know, and but we're going to get it. If you guys have the Apocrypha, all right. This is the Apocrypha right here. This is called the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha was in the original King James Version Bible. All right. So online, how many of you have? Okay, online. Another question. How many of you have seen the King James Version Bible, the Holy Bible 1611 edition, King James Version? How many of you actually have seen and read the actual King James Version Bible? This right here is called the Apocrypha. Right? This is called the Apocrypha. Right? This right here was in the Bible. Right? This right here was one. So if you have a King James Version Bible today, you may not have this in your Bible because the Catholic Church took it out. The Catholic Church passed a law and made a rule to take these books out of the Bible. And this is called the Apocrypha. This was once found in the Bible. Now, how can I prove? Most High in Christ, I have the Apocrypha. That's good, because this is what you need. I need you to go to Second Esdras, right? Chapter 13, and I want you to start at verse 39. So Second Esdras chapter 13, verse 39. Second Esdras chapter 13, verse 39. Now Christians don't want to believe that this was in the Bible, right? Can everybody see that? Christians, I'll walk up to the camera if I have to, but this is the Apocrypha. This was once in the King James Version Bible. Now, how can we prove that this was once in the King James Version Bible? Well, I could tell you to look it up, which you can look it up, right? But I also have something better for you. This is the original King James Version Bible 1611 edition. This is what it looks like. This was right here, right? This is the authorized translation right here of the Bible, of the records of the Israelites. All right? Right here. This is the original King James Version Bible. And if I open it up, right? If I open it up, you're going to see a lot of things in here. All right? I'm going to go ahead and get you to I believe it's called the index. Sometimes I get the context index all confused. I want to say it's the index. But let's get you the index. All right, here we go. It's not the index. It's the table of contents. Every time. It's like I need to go back to high school sometimes. The table of contents, not the index. The index is in the back of the book. The table of contents is in the front, all right? I feel like Billy Madison. I got to start high school. I got to start first grade all the way up, man. That's crazy. So the table of contents, right? So if I go into the table of contents, right, you'll be able to find the books of the Bible, right? So I have it open right here. Now you guys might not be able to see, but I'm gonna bring it a little bit closer to the camera so you guys can see that the Apocrypha was in the original King James Version Bible, if anybody asks. So let me know if y'all see. I'm gonna turn it around. I want you guys to see this. All right, I want you guys to see this. All right, does everybody see what I'm looking at? Do you guys see where the Apocrypha is? All right, let me know if you guys see where the Apocrypha is. Kana la'a, yes or no? Do you guys see the Apocrypha in the King James Version Bible? Do you guys see it? I'll shine some light in there. Do you guys see it? There you go. All right, so you guys see it. These are the books of the Bible in the original King James Version Bible 1611. The Apocrypha is in there. So don't allow any Christian to tell you that the Apocrypha is not in the Bible. They just don't understand history. They don't understand what happened. Alright? And that's why the Christian church is so misled today. I'll hold up there just a little bit longer. Make sure you guys see it. Alright? Alright? Right here. It's right here. Right here. That's where the Apocrypha is at. Right there. Alright? So now, since we got that, right? All right. It's between the Old Testament and the New Testament. Absolutely right. So right there, that's in the So right there, the Apocrypha was once in the King James Version Bible, but the Catholic Church took it out. And there's a reason why they took it out. Because if you read the Apocrypha, it absolutely goes against the Christian philosophy. You can't have something that's in the Bible that contradicts the entire Christian philosophy. It wouldn't make any sense. The Christian church uses the King James Version Bible, but I mean, I'm using that sentence a little loosely there. You know what I'm saying? Just by the way, I'm kind of throwing them a bone, but not really, because the Christian church doesn't really use the Bible. They don't know the Bible, they don't read the Bible, and they truly don't really believe in the Bible. But for argument's sake, the Christian church uses the Bible, right? Because the King James Version Bible, you know, that's the Bible that they know and use, quote unquote, right? But they don't know that the Apocrypha was once in it, but it was taken out because it goes completely against their belief. It says so much things in the Apocrypha, which is the Bible, that you would be like, wow, that's crazy. Like, for an example, in the Christian church, they tell you God hates the sin but not the sinner. Well, in the Apocrypha, which is the Bible, will tell you God hates the sinner and the sin. I mean, that's just one example. It also teaches you about Greek captivity. It takes a chunk of our history out. That's why we're confused. Like, for instance, that's why when you're reading New Testament and when Paul is talking to the schools and it says there's neither Jew nor Greek, we get confused. Because we think when they say there's neither Jew nor Greek, we're talking about, well, there's Jew, and there's using examples of a Jew and then a non-Jew. No. They were using Israelites as an example, right? But we just don't know because the Apocrypha was taken out by the Catholic Church, and now we haven't read 1st and 2nd Maccabees. You know what I'm saying? So it's neither here or there. So we're going to go to 2nd Esdras. We're going to go to 2nd Esdras. Chapter 13. And we're going to start at verse 39. All right? So, 2nd Esdras, chapter 13, verse 39. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him. So the Lord is talking about a peaceable multitude. Alright? So, this is a backtrack of, okay, to give you a backdrop on the chapter. This chapter also talks about the coming of Christ, the coming of the angels, and the day of the Lord when he comes and he's going to save his people through absolute warfare. Alright? Alright? So that's the little backdrop. But now, he also, in this verse right here in verse 39, it says, and whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him. So, this is Esdras. We already know that the Jews, okay, so we know that the Jews are supposed to be saved. Throughout the Bible talks about how the Jews are going to be saved, right? It also talks about how Israel as a whole, meaning all 12 tribes of Israel, are going to be saved, right? But Ezra, right, through the Spirit of the Lord, is going to expound who else the Lord is coming to save. Not just Judah, not just the southern kingdom, but the northern kingdom too. And that's the peaceable multitude. Like the so-called Hispanics and Native Indians, we were always a peaceable people. Like we were always a peaceable people. We were a people about peace. All of Israel was all about peace. That's why even within our culture we say shalom, which literally means peace. We were always a peaceable people, right? And we understood how to get peace. You can't have peace without war. Life is about warfare. We're not always talking about physical war. We're talking about spiritual war. We're talking about emotional war, right? We're talking about life is about warfare. Life is about war. No matter how you look at it, life is about fighting. Life is about winning or losing. All right? That's life. Life is you win or you lose. All right? Y'all may not want to hear this, but life is about war. Life is about fighting. It's either you fight to win or you sit back and lose. And I pray you guys understand, and I pray that you guys want to fight to win. And don't stand back and lose. We're here to win. As the nation of Israel, as so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, we are here to win. Because I don't know about you, but I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of being beat down, gunned down, raped and molested, sex trafficked, thrown in jail, thrown in prison, being harassed, and being terrorized in a country that I built up from the ground up. From a country that we built up from the ground up. I'm tired of it. We all should be tired of it. We should be tired of losing and wanting to win. Life is about warfare. Life is about winning. It's either you fight to win or you stand back and lose. Which one are you going to be? In the Isupk, we do not lose, and we aren't going to lose. We are going to win. And we will get our crowns in heaven. I pray you understand. But we were always a peaceable people. We were about peace. Right? We were kind. The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, but we're going to focus on the Hispanics and the Native Indians. Right? Like the Mexicans and the Cubans and the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans, man. And the El Salvadorans, Costa Ricans, the Panamanians, Brazilians, Peruvians, you understand? Like we were always a peaceable people. You got the Native Indians like the Choctaw, and the Choctaw or the Chickasaw, or the Navajo, or the Iroquois, or the Creek, or the Muskegee, the Seminoles, you know, the Cherokee, the Pequot. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we were always a piece of Blackfoot. We were always a peaceable people, man. We were about peace. So we were the peaceable multitude that the Lord was referring to in the scriptures. Verse 40. So now the Lord is going to tell us who that peaceable multitude is. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king. So now we know who the peaceable multitude was, right? So now we know who the peaceable multitude was. It was talking about the other tribes of Israel, right? Like what? Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Asher, Naphtali, Issachar, right? Like these were the other tribes of Israel, right? That the Lord is talking about, right? Like that's who the Lord is talking about. Okay? That's who the Lord is referring to. That's the peaceable multitude, the other 10 tribes, right? Now, does anybody know why it said 10? Now, that's a question. I want to know if anyone can answer that. Right? Why did the Lord say 10 tribes? Does anybody know? Why? Why did it say 10 tribes? Why didn't it say 9? Why did it say 10? And the reason why I'm asking this question, I'm really asking for the brothers that are in class, that are in the school, that have been studying a little bit, right? Why did the Lord say 10 tribes? The Lord said 10 tribes for a reason. I'll give you guys a little hint. The southern kingdom consisted of Benjamin, Judah, and Levi. That's 3 tribes right there, right? That's 3 tribes. So the southern kingdom consisted of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. That was the southern kingdom. But now the other 9 tribes were who? Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Asher, Naphtali, and Issachar, right? That's the other 9 tribes, right? So why did the Lord say those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land, and not 9? Can anybody tell me? You guys type it in the live chat, and I'm going to continue reading. Land in the time of Hosea the king, who Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive. So King Shalmaneser, right, king of Assyria at that time, that we read about in 2 Kings, this was the time this was the time period. So this is a recap. Right? In 2 Kings chapter 17, verses 7 through 23, right? This is a recap. This is an absolute recap, right? We were taken out of our land because we were sinning against the Lord. Because we sinned against the Lord, and we were worshiping other gods, and we were worshiping idols, and we were following the culture and the heritage and the traditions of another nation of people, and adopted the traditions and the culture and the heritage of another race of people, we were carried away captive, right, by the Assyrian king Shalmaneser, right, during the time of the reign of Hosea the king over Samaria, right? And he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. So Ezra is letting us know, the Lord is letting us know through Ezra, it's like, hey, this is during the time this is during the time that we were carried away captive into the land of Assyria, right? This was during the Assyrian captivity because we sinned against the Lord. We were worshiping other gods. We were worshiping other we were idol worshiping, right? So we were idol worshiping, man. All right, we were idol worshiping, man. Let's continue reading. Verse 41. But they took this counsel among themselves. So there was a council amongst the 10 tribes of Israel that were in Assyria. They took counsel among themselves. Let's see what the counsel was. That they would leave the multitude of the heathen. That they would leave the multitude of the heathen, meaning they would leave Assyria. Because the land of Assyria was the multitude of the heathen. Like, what we have to understand is that any other nation or race of people that was not an Israelite were known to be heathens. Like your Edomites, which is the so-called white man. Like Moab, which is the so-called Chinese man. Like Ammon, which is the so-called Japanese man. Like Elam, which is the so-called East Indian, right? Like Ishmael, which is the so-called Arab. Like these are examples of heathens, of other nations and races of people, right? And so we wanted to leave. So we decided amongst ourselves and to counsel among ourselves to leave, right, the multitude of the heathen, meaning to leave Assyria and go forth into a further country. So now the counsel was not just to leave, but go forth into a further country. Meaning we're not just going to leave, but we're going to go to a different country. And not just a different country, but a further country. Meaning we're going to go to a land, we're going to a country far, far, far away from where we're at now. So wherever Assyria is, which is in Asia Minor, which is now known as the Middle East, which is the area of Syria, right? The Assyrian Empire, Assyria, right, which is now known the Middle East, right, or Asia Minor, the land of Syria, around that area now, right? We decided to leave that area and go to a country far, far away from that area, right? Where never mankind dwelt. So there was a country and there was a land that mankind never dwelt. Can anybody tell me the land that no man, right, has dwelt, where never mankind dwelt? Can anybody online give me an example, right, of a country where never mankind dwelt? Now you guys have two questions to answer. If you guys don't know what was my first question? My first question was, why did the Lord say 10 tribes and not 9? I'll tell you for time's sake. The tribe of Levi didn't have an inheritance, right? Because the tribe of Levi was the priest. They were the priests. So they didn't have a land of their own, right? They were amongst all of Israel. So they didn't have a portion of land of their own. They were everywhere because they were the priests. So within the 10 tribes of Israel, you had priests that went with the children of Israel. Alright? You had priests that were among the children of, or you had priests that were among the house of Israel, because the priests did not have an inheritance. They had to be everywhere because they were the lawgivers. They were your judges. They were the ones that would give out the law. All right. They were your law enforcers. Right. They would enforce the law of the Most High. So if you disobey God, right, regardless if you were Simeon, Zebulon, Issachar, Naphtali, Reuben, Gad, it doesn't matter. If you broke the law, you broke the law. You was getting stoned, or there was some type of penalty. There was something was going to happen to you if you broke the law, right? That's why the priests were everywhere, right? Because they gave out the judgments of the Most High. All right. So that's the answer to your first question. Now the second question is, can anybody tell me what is the land where never mankind dwelt? Can anybody tell me? Online, can anybody tell me? Okay. Okay, anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else want to give it a shot? I see one answer. I see one answer. Anybody else want to give it a shot? Anybody else want to give it a shot? All right. Where is the land where never mankind dwelt? All right. So it says in verse 40, verse 41, for they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. So the brother answered America. That land where no man has dwelt is America. How did the brother come up with that answer? He may have came up with that answer by just knowing history, but context within the scriptures would also allow you to understand what country the Lord is talking about, so you don't get anything confused. Right? The Americas, like North America, South America, these lands were not inhabited at one point until the 10 tribes of Israel came and made them habitable and inhabited the land and inherited the land and started, dwelling on that land and living in that land. No one was over here at that time. All right? Let's continue. Verse 42. Right? And it says, where never mankind dwelt. Like where never mankind dwelt. That's the hint to tell you that it's talking about the Americas. Because no one knew that there was a land over here. Remember, people originated from the east side of the world. Everyone. We all originated. We didn't originate from the Americas. We all originated on the other side of the earth, like Asia, Europe, Africa, like those places. We didn't originate from the Americas. So that's your hint to let you know that the Lord is talking about the Americas, because we all originated from the other side of the earth, which is the east side of the earth, like on the east side, which is like, the Middle East or Asia, right? Or Europe and Africa and all them places, all right? 43. Slakia 42. That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in our land, right? And so it says that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. So they came and said, you know what? We're going to go to this land that no man has ever gone before, so we can keep the laws of God that we didn't keep when we were in Samaria, that we were in our own land. Like, remember, when we were in our homeland, which is Samaria, we weren't keeping the laws of God. We were not keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments. We were disobeying the Most High, right? We were sinning against the Lord, and we were practicing and adopting the culture, the heritage, and the traditions of another race of people, of another nation of people, right? And because of so, our lifestyle suffered because of it. And because of so, we went into captivity. So now we made a counsel among ourselves. How about we go to this land that no man has gone before, or where no man has dwelt, and let's keep God's laws there. And let's keep our heritage there. Let's keep our culture there. Let's keep our traditions there, right? So like it. Verse 43. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. So they left by water, right? And specifically they left throughout the Euphrates, right? Verse 44. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. So that's saying like the Lord watched over the Israelites on their voyage through rough seas and through the seas, all right, while they were sailing through the seas to get to a land that no man has dwelt before, which the brother answered correctly, which is America, or the Americas, right? Verse 45, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Assyrian. So it took a year and a half for the Israelites from where they left from, right? Because they didn't leave off the coast, right? It's not like we had a port on the coast of the country of Asia or Africa somewhere, and we were able to sail and get to America like in 7 to 8 months or so. That wasn't the case. All right? No, we left through the Euphrates. Right? So it took a little longer than usual, about a year and a half. Right? And then the Lord said, and the same region is called Assyrian. So Assyrian, right, is America. Right? So Assyrian is America. So in the Bible, America is known as Assyrian. Assyrian. Alright? Assyrian. Alright? I believe that's Greek. But Assyrian. Alright? So Assyrian was the land, right, of America. Right? Alright? Does anybody now says, alright, verse 46, then dwelt they therein. Let me start like it. Verse 46, then dwelt they there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come. So when they came to the land, that's where they dwelt. Right? That's where they dwelt, alright? Alright, that's where we dwelt. So this is how we came to America, alright? So this is how the blacks it's like not the blacks, the so-called blacks like it. But this is how the Hispanics and the Native Indians came to America, right? This is how we came to America. Right? This is how we came to America. So now we know, so this is the part of history that the Catholic Church took out of the Bible. This is the part of history that we need to understand, right? Now we're going to go into a book, right? And we're going to take some passages, right, out of a book, right? Right? We're going to get historic records written down, right, by people, right? So we're going to get the mysteries of the ancient America, the New World before Columbus, all right? All right, so we're going to get a book. This is a good book for anyone to get. All right, it's called The Mysteries of the Ancient America, the New World before Columbus. All right, so now remember, we're going to make sure we backtrack and all, right? We're going to get down into it, man. This is the history class, right? You need books for history, right? The Bible is a history book. But there's also other books that record our history, right? And this is talking about the Native Indians and the Latinos. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to use 2nd Exodus, chapter 13, verse 42 as a reference. Now, I'm going to read verse 42 one more time in chapter 13 of 2nd Exodus. 2nd Exodus, chapter 13, verse 42. That they might keep, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. Alright? So we're going to use this as a reference. The mysteries of the ancient America, the New World before Columbus. Travelers in many parts of North and South America began to discover Old Testament customs and practice. So, here we go. So it said, travelers in many parts of North and South America. So North America, right? So where is North America, right? North America, we're in North America. North America consists of Canada, the United States, right? And Mexico, right? And South America, right? Well, Salakia, let me backtrack, because I also want to add this. North America includes Canada, the United States, Mexico, and parts of Central America, right? And it says travelers in many parts of North and South America. Where's South America? Well, South America is right below North America. It's south of North America, right? That's why it's called South America. That's where your Chile is. That's where your Peru is. That's where your Brazil is. You know what I'm saying? Like this is your South America, right? So travelers in parts of North and South America began to discover Old Testament customs in practice. Now time out. Why and how the travelers, right? This is what should be your first question. How did travelers start to notice Old Testament customs in South and North America? That doesn't make any sense, right? Like, what's the Old Testament? Can anybody tell me what's the Old Testament? Where is the Old Testament? If anybody online or in class, where is the Old Testament? Where is the Old Testament? Anybody online? Where is the Old Testament? Where is the Old Testament located? Where is the Old Testament? What is the Old Testament and where is the Old Testament? Anybody online? All right. It says travelers in many parts of North and South America began to discover Old Testament customs in practice. So what's the Old Testament? Where is the Old Testament? I'll give y'all some time to answer online. Salaki. All right. Giving y'all some time. Where and what is the Old Testament? Okay, it says the Old Testament is the law. Right, so the Old Testament is the law and was in the hands of our captors. Okay, so, all right, we don't want to say it's in the hands of our captors, but I understand what you're saying. So, what and where is the Old Testament? So the Old Testament, which is the what, is the law. So the Old Testament consists of the law. Now, where is the Old Testament? The Old Testament is in the Bible, right? That's where the Old Testament's at. It's in the Bible, right? So this book, The Mysteries of the Ancient America, the New World before Columbus, is letting you know that traces of the Bible, which is the Old Testament, right? Practices, customs, and practice were found in North and South America, right? It just said travelers in many parts of North and South America began to discover Old Testament customs and practice. One was ritual calendars, right? Ritual calendars. Can anybody tell me the ritual calendars, a ritual calendar, an example of a ritual calendar in the Bible? Can anybody tell me? Can anybody tell me what is according to the Bible, what could be a ritual calendar? Can anybody tell me? I'll give y'all for time's sake, because I want to make sure I can get through some of this, right? So ritual calendars, right? Like this is customs. Okay, so it says travelers in many parts of North and South America began to discover Old Testament customs and practices. It says ritual calendars, right? A ritual calendar. We have a calendar that lets us know when to observe our feast days, like the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of First Fruits, the Day of Atonement, right? The Feast of Dedication, the Passover, the Feast of Purim, right? Does it sound familiar? Like this is part of a ritual calendar. Purification rites, right? Purification rites, right? What is the purification rites? You had clean and unclean. This is in the Bible. Purification rites. That's your clean and your unclean. Circumcision, right? These were traces found in North and South America. Circumcision. That's in the Bible. This is before, right? These are customs that were found already in North and South America. Circumcision, right? Flood myths, right? It says flood myths. There was a story in South and North America about a flood, a great flood. That's in the Bible, right? Sacrifices to gods, right? we would make sacrifices unto the Most High. That was our culture. That was part of our traditions. That was a part of our heritage, was to give sacrifices to the Most High. Veneration of a tribal ark, right? Meaning the honoring of a certain ark. That's talking about your scroll, right? That's talking about the Torah. That's talking about the law, right? This was all found in North and South America. It says Native Americans were daily acting in ways that a European had previously encountered only in biblical stories about the earliest Jewish prophets and their families. So it says Native Americans were daily acting in ways, right, that a European had previously encountered only in biblical stories about the prophets and their families. So the Native Americans were acting like the people in the Bible. That's what this book just said. In the book Mysteries of the Ancient America, the New World Before Columbus, it talks about the Native Americans in North America and South America. They were acting daily like the people in the Bible. And they listed the customs and the practice of the Native Americans, which was ritual calendars, purification rites, circumcision, flood myths, sacrifices to the Most High, veneration of the tribal ark. Like, this is, I can't make this up. I can't make this up. It says numerous parallels were put forth in a book written in the late 18th century by James Adair, a trader, like someone that trades, all right, a trader in Indian territory for at least 40 years. Lucky. In chance. So this man, he wrote a book, and he was around the Native Indians. He was around the Native Americans for about 40 years. He was a trader among the Native Americans. He would trade like goods, like corn for sheep, sheep for corn, whatever it was, right? Enchants, right? Like we know in Native American culture and Hispanic culture, right? We would do chants. We would sing like some type of song, and we would call it a chant. And chants, he heard among the Choctaw. So it says, in chants, he heard among the Choctaw. The Choctaw is a Native American tribe. And the Chickasaw. And the Chickasaw. That's another Native American tribe. And their neighbors, meaning other neighboring tribes. So the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, and the Chickasaw, and their neighbors, he found the name Jehovah, which we now is pronounced as, we know is Yahweh, right? So in the chants of the Native Americans, right, the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, and their neighboring tribes, he found the name Jehovah in the chants. He heard Jehovah. He heard Yahweh, right? He heard Yahweh, right? Like he heard these names in their chants, right? I believe the way it was pronounced that he heard it was Yahweh, right? Yahweh, right? That's how it would be pronounced, Yahweh. Now y'all looking at me crazy, probably like Yahweh. But if you think about it, if you're saying it in a chant like Yahweh, you may not realize that's what they're saying. You get my point? Like, this was in our culture, right? You heard Native American when we were doing our chant, Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. Like, that's how it was pronounced. And within our chants, he heard the name Yahweh. He was like, yo, He was like, yo, that's crazy. That sounds like the Lord's name. No doubt that these are the lost children of Israel. These are the lost tribes of Israel. Right? We're going to get more into it, man. Alright? We're going to get more into it, man. Right? Yahweh. Right? Y'all going to be like, dang, that's crazy. Yahweh. And then and listen, don't start chanting that either. No, you know, but think about it. Sing it in a chant. Right? Like I just did. Yahweh. And say Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. And you be like, holy, like it just clicks, right? You're probably flabbergasted right now. You're probably mind blown right now. Because this was history that you were never taught. Like this is the history that our oppressor, you know, hid from us all this time. There's a reason why he didn't want us to read books, man. This was written in the 18th century. This was, a slave was capable of reading this if we knew how to read at this time. In the 18th century. Right? This is the reason why they say you can't read. Because if we read stuff like this, we would know we were the children of Israel. And we need to get the hell up out of here. You get my point? We would have known. We were like, nah. This book just said we were chanting, like my grandmother, like, my father's father, right, which is my grandfather, we come from the Creeks. We come from the Muskegee. I come from the tribe of Gad. And on my mother's side, right, one of my great grandmothers, her name was Chant Brooks. She was a full-blooded Native American, right? And she was, I believe, if not a slave, but a generation under the slaves. You gotta think about it. The Native Americans were on those plantations too. The Choctaw and Chickasaw, we were enslaved too. We were on those plantations picking cotton too. So we read this book in the 18th century while we were enslaved. We would be like, oh hell nah. We the children of God. What are you talking about, man? We need to get our life together. We not living right. We ain't supposed to be in this type of position. Well, let's continue reading, man. We're going to get another book. We're going to get another book, man. The Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. So this is a book. You guys go ahead and get these books. You have the Mysteries of the Ancient America, the New World before Columbus. And then now we have the Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. Now here's a good one right here. All right. In September 1644, a Portuguese Morano named Antonio de Montezenos arrived in Amsterdam after having lived for some years in South America. Right? So this man, he lived in South America and he was Portuguese. Right? Like the Portuguese oppressed our people in South America. That's why in Brazil we speak Portuguese to this day. And proceeded to tell the leaders of the recently established Jewish community there a story that caused them to think to him as a latter-day Elad Danite. So now there was, and it says, and proceeded to tell the leaders of the recent established Jewish community there a story that caused them to think to him as a latter-day Elad Danite. So there was a Jewish community that was established in Portugal. Not Portugal, in South America, right? The Jewish man has always been in our lives as an oppressor, right? This is nothing new. The so-called, listen, the white man that's our oppressor, which is the devil that the Bible speaks of, that Jewish man, which is Amalek, he has always been an oppressor over so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. It says it right here. There's a Jewish community established in South America, right? So the book goes on to read, 2.5 years before he told them, while traveling in the wild mountains of Quito, right? Of Quito. Does anybody know where Quito is? Does anybody know where Quito is? Quito is in Ecuador. Alright, so Quito is the area of Ecuador. Alright, Ecuador is in South America. Alright, alright, so Ecuador is in South America, right? Okay, we know that Ecuador is in South America. So he was traveling in the mountains of Quito, right? Or Quito, right? Which is in Ecuador. He had heard some of his Indian guides. So he had heard some of his Indian guides. These are Indians. These are native Indians in Quito, in Ecuador, in South America, right? Guys remarked that the natives of that country deserved all the suffering they had undergone at the hands of the Spaniards. So they heard him talking about how we understood suffering by the hands of the Spaniards. So right here in this book, it lets you know that the Spaniards and the Portuguese and the Jewish man oppressed our people, man. And they oppressed the native Indians in South America. They oppressed the people of Ecuador. They oppressed the people of Chile. They oppressed the people of Brazil. Alright? They oppressed the people of Peru, man. They oppressed the people of South America, right? It's telling you in history, right, that we undergone suffering by the hands of the Spaniards. But he's listening to them. And the book goes on to say, when he asked them to explain why they thought such a thing. So he's asking like, man, why do y'all think that y'all deserve this suffering against the Spaniards? Right? Like that country deserved all the suffering they had undergone. Like, why do they deserve it? Right? And it says, so the book goes and say, when he asked them to explain why they thought such a thing, they have replied mysteriously that it was because we so badly treated a holy people, the greatest in the world. Right? So their answer was, we so badly treated a holy people. Like we treated badly a holy people, the greatest in the world. It says, we so badly treated, meaning we are so badly treated a holy people. Even though we are a holy people, we are treated badly. The greatest in the world. What does that let you know? Right? How does that let you know, right? That's crazy, right? It literally just said that they just said we are a badly treated people. But not just any people, but a holy people. Where did they get that from? Where did they get that from? How did they know that they were so badly treated a holy people? Where did they get that from? Anybody know? I'll just go ahead and give it to you. Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Most High thy power. Like this was talking to the children of Israel. This was during the time of the Israelites in the wilderness. In Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 6 says, for thou art an holy people unto the Most High thy power. Right? It says the Bible. And it says, and it goes on to say, right? The Lord thy God have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. That's why those brothers said the greatest in the world. Because we were above all people on the face of the earth. We were a special people, right? We were a great people. That's who we were. We were a holy people. No doubtly that the people of South America are God's chosen people. Let's go on to say, nothing more had been offered by them on this point. But later in the same conversation with Francisco, one of the Indian guides, so there was an Indian guide, his name was Francisco. His name was Francisco. This is how you know that we were oppressed, right? This is a Spanish name. This is a Portuguese name, Francisco, one of the Indian gods. He declared that his countrymen would be avenged upon the Spaniards in time anyway, by means of a people now hidden. It says by means of a people now hidden, right? Meaning that we are the lost children of Israel, and we will be avenged by our God. He just declared to his countrymen that we would be avenged upon the Spaniards in time anyway. That Indian god Francisco said, we will be avenged. We will get our revenge. Right? That's in the Bible. The Lord is going to avenge his people. That's in the Bible. Right? This is in the lost tribes and promised lands. This is history. This is written records in history. Alright? The two references apparently were to the same people, but Montezenos, not seeing their full meaning in that moment, had put the whole matter out of mind for the time being. So he thought nothing of it at the time, right? He thought nothing of it at the time. Salaki. Let's go ahead. This is still the same book. Now we're going to read another passage in the book, in the lost tribes and promised lands, right? We're going to continue reading. It says, 2 men were soon back in the rugged mountains in which Francisco had made his initial revelation, marching relentlessly for a week before they finally came to a halt. It was a Saturday. Montezenos makes a point of telling us, and they had come to a river larger than the Duero. Are there echoes of the Simberton in all of this? Here, Francesco announced, is where your brothers will be seen. Right? So now it says, so now they're across the river, and they're going to be, and this is where your brothers will be seen. So there's going to be brothers being seen across this river, right? Waving a banner high in the air, Indian guide soon was greeted by a puff of smoke far beyond the other bank of the river. In response to his signal, 2 men waited. Eventually a canoe appeared, bearing 3 men and a woman, all of them Indians. So he waved a flag and he signaled his brethren, right? And 3 of them came, 2 men and a woman. And all of them were Indians, meaning all of them were native Indians. They were indigenous to that land of South America, in Cuero, in the mountains, right? In Ecuador, right? To the place where Francisco and Montezenos were standing at the water's edge. The woman got off and spoke to Francisco in an Indian tongue that Montezenos could not understand. So it says, so guess what? So we had a language, right? So guess what? Francisco, right? He was an Indian and he spoke 2 languages. Of course, he spoke a language that was either Portuguese or Spanish, right? But he also spoke a language that this Portuguese traveler, right? This Portuguese Morano could not understand. They were speaking a language that they could not understand, right? The woman got off and spoke to Francisco in an Indian tongue that Montezenos could not understand, although he could perceive that he was being identified in the conversation. So at the minimum, he knew they were talking about him. She then turned to her male companions to explain the situation, right? And so the woman turned around and explained to the 2 men the situation going on, right? Upon hearing her words, they rose, went over to Montezenos, and to his utter astonishment, right? So these two men went over to Montezenos, and it says, to his utter astonishment, said, right? And he was astonished on what they said to him. Now, this is what he said to him. They said, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohino Adonai Ehad. Right? Meaning, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Now, right? Now, to further explain that, that was written in Yiddish, like in the Hebrew that we may know today. But this is how they did say it. This is how the Indians said it, right? They said, Shema Yasha'Allah, Yahweh Alahayim Yanawa Yahweh Akkad. That's what they said. That's why Montezenos was so surprised. Because they said, Shema Yasha'Allah, Yahweh Alahayim Yanawa Yahweh Akkad. Which literally means, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Right? They had recited in Hebrew the fundamental credo of Judaism. How could these Indians know Hebrew? How could these native Indians in South America know Hebrew? How could they know? Can anybody tell me how could they know? Because we are the children of Israel. And the Israelites spoke Hebrew. Now, it goes on to say, a brief conversation then ensued in their common ancestral tongue, according to Montezenos, whose fluency in it is almost as perplexing to the reader of his narrative as is that of his three mysteries, new companions. They told him, so now he was so shocked, he was like, that's crazy that you guys fluently speak that your ancestral tongue is Hebrew. We would have never known that. And then this is what they go on to say. And then he learns new mysteries about them. And this is what they also told him. They told him that they were themselves of the tribe of Reuben, and that the tribe of Joseph lived on an island nearby. Shalom. Shalom. That's it. That's it. Right there. They literally just said that we come from the tribe of Reuben. And the tribe of Joseph lived on the island nearby. Do you know who the tribe of Joseph is? That's Ephraim. That's Manasseh. He was talking about the Cubans and the Puerto Ricans. That's who he was talking about. The Cubans and the Puerto Ricans. That's who he was talking about. They said, we come from the tribe of Reuben. We come from the tribe of Reuben. And our brothers on the other side, from the island across from us, are Joseph, meaning Ephraim and Manasseh. Now that's crazy, right? This is found in the book, The Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. Any questions? All right, with that, we want to get the security announcements. ISUPK security announcements. We are the ISUPK, started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohana. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Ma'ashra, it's like in Numbers 18:21. Malachi chapter 3 verses 8 through 10. Ma'ashra means tenth in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocation. It's the Passover on April 24th. It's the Passover, man. It is the Passover. All right, April at the BH Ranch in Houston, Texas. Pay your Passover fees, hotel reservations, get your garments, get your dresses. It's going to be a beautiful time. Do not miss out, man. Plan your plane tickets, your bus tickets, your car rides. No excuses. Get down there for the Passover, man. It's going to have a beautiful time, man. ATV riding, horseback riding, fishing, ATV riding, whatever it is, man. The unleavened bread and that lamb is going to be a beautiful time. It's going to be a great time. You don't want to miss out. All right? With that, I say Aymayim, which means to stand. Sar Punya Hakudam, which means turn and face the east. We're going to do the Lord's Prayer in the Lashawan Kodash. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shemka, Yahweh, Malakaka, Taba'ah, Butazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Marataza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Nathananawa, Lacham, Kal, Yawam, Wasalat Lanawa, Kabawak Nawa, Kasalat Nawa, Kabawak Yanawa, Wala'ah, Dawaya'a Nawa, Manasayawa, Abor, Hawashai Nawa, Mayan, Ra, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Watapara, La'awalamya, Aman. In the English, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. We're going to get the prayer of the curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh, King of heaven and earth, in all things living. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, listen to us now, right now. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen that speak against us by prophets, the teachers, the princes, the priests, the Israelite brothers, and the school. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen, and shake loose the treasure of the rich of Israel that refuse to give to the school. Force their riches to enter thy sanctuary. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the Edomites, and the nations, and the drug dealers, the court system, the prison system, Planned Parenthood, all the governments of our enemies, Amalek synagogues and armies, Roman Catholic Church, Egyptology, Ku Klux Klan, the lesbian movement, spies, workers of witchcraft, NASA space programs, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Wall Street, open up the internet and the airwaves, the cable access channels, and the radio channels. Convict the spirit of any of our people that seek to stop us and bring swift destruction to all the heathen that stand in the way or try to stop us from broadcasting your words throughout the planet Earth. Let loose all the plagues. Let loose all the plagues. Let loose all the plagues. Cause them to go to and fro through the earth and consume them. Let the plagues shake the house of the thief and the murderer. Let Yahushua, Michael and Gabriel come down with the flying saucers and punish all the heathens that come up against us as we speak thy word. Cause it to be known by all that it is the angels that have done it. Cause it to be spread through the media, throughout the whole world. Cause them to shake at thy coming. In the name of Yahweh, thank you always, so be it. Salah, which means to turn. Men of Israel, we're going to give a courteous salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Aman Shabbat, Amanu, Barak, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shabbat, Yahweh Matah, Salah, watching me and turn to the sisters. Turn to the sisters. Men of Israel, we're going to give a courteous salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Aman Shabbat, Amanu, Barak, Yahweh Shema Al-Thun by Hashem Yahweh Shah. Yahweh Matah. With that, class dismissed.